They're designed to want to chase after fast-moving furry objects. So fortunately, that does not always translate from an artificial lure on a contraption to your house cat. But sometimes we have to be very careful, and there are dogs who will not live with other small animals because they do show a strong prey drive. They may be absolutely fine with people, but even with small dogs, we might have to be careful with them.
So this sounds like a normal thing. All the dogs here are tested with the same kind of thing, whether they can be with other animals or not.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. So it's really not out of the realm of what's usual.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes?
Are there racetracks on the West Coast? Or they all be back further?
Good question. The closest racetracks, say, to the Bay Area here are in Colorado and Arizona. When I first adopted Nick, there were 5 tracks in Colorado. Now there's only 1. Arizona still has 2 tracks, one in Phoenix, one in Tucson. Phoenix is considered one of those high-grade, good tracks that looks good. Tucson, in the words of our adoption program coordinator, is a hellhole. So those are the 2 closest tracks. Also in Caliente track down in Tijuana, there are dogs racing there. These are dogs typically that have finished their career in the U.S. and they may be broken down, they may have just slowed down, but they'll often end up in Mexico being raced there. So a lot of our dogs come from those states. But once in a while, you know, they will come from farther reaches, especially Florida. Our first 2 dogs came from Florida. What happens sometimes is there will be a kennel that closes, or sometimes, thankfully, it is a track that closes. But what happens in that case is you have hundreds of dogs suddenly that are simply going to disappear unless the rescue groups can come in and do something. And it's as though the pressure now is put on the rescue organizations. You know, it's your job to come in and save these dogs, otherwise they're going to die. So in that case, again, you know, there'll be a lot of networking that goes on and attempts to try to get dogs out of a really bad situation. And so they may end up coming from quite a ways away. Yes?
Where are most of the rescue groups?
All over the country. They're in states that are not racing states, as well as there are rescue groups that are in the same city as where dog tracks exist. And some tracks have official adoption pet kennels. Typically those that really are more aligned with the dog racing industry, however. Greyhound racing got its start right here in the Bay Area, over in Emeryville. That's where it got started. Yeah?
On the tape, what happened in the places that were edited out?
Oh, okay. What they had in the tape there was footage of dogs being brought to a humane society. This was actually in Arizona. Being brought in to be euthanized. And what you saw in the tape was a technician, a couple technicians who were euthanizing a dog. Then they were foisting the dog into the wheelbarrow, rolling the wheelbarrow out to the back of the shelter, and then the 2 of them, 1, 2, 3, throwing the dog onto the pickup bed that was filled with other dead greyhounds. So, and that can still be happening. You know, euthanasia is the kindest way to help an animal pass, as we all know, but an awful lot of the dogs just disappear. And when they just disappear, that usually means they've been killed through other means. Electrocution, gunshot, bludgeoning. Some of the dogs are simply abandoned. They will just throw them into a truck and drive them out to the middle of nowhere, cut off the tips of their ears so that you can't trace the tattoos, and then just abandon them. It's really all about what's the cheapest way to either care for these dogs or dispose of these dogs. Fortunately, again, with so many rescue organizations, you know, a lot of kennel operators are finding that that's their cheapest ways. Call, connect, with a rescue group and see if they can't take a dog or a group of dogs. Other questions? Dinah?
Betsy, are the males faster in general? Are there more males, in other words, coming off the tracks than females, or is it even?
It's even. Females are just as fast as males, and they race them together. But what they do is they give the females essentially a testosterone hormone steroid to prevent them from coming into estrus. So that's how they are able to race them together. Laura, did you have a... Oh, yeah. So that's how they're able to do that. They turn them out separately. So when they let them out for exercise and to go to the bathroom, they have males turned out in one pen, females turned out in another pen. And you saw that they all wear these basket muzzles. They wear the basket muzzles because can you imagine turning 50 dogs out together in a room that's this size, let's say? These dogs don't know each other. So they put a muzzle on them. They put a muzzle on them just to make sure that there are no scuffles, nobody gets hurt. But you may have noticed that they often are muzzled inside of their crates as well. And, you know, that could be because it just saves them that much more time, not having to take the muzzle off and put the muzzle back on and take it off. But they will often muzzle them because the dogs may start to either chew on the cages or start to chew on themselves. It's very high stressful and boredom. You know, they muzzle them just to kind of prevent the dogs from doing damage to themselves or to others. So.
I see that they could drink with the muzzles on.
Yeah.
Can they actually eat with them on too?
Yeah, they do. And speaking of eating, a lot of greyhounds are fed raw 4D meat. 4D, does anybody know what that stands for? Diseased, dying, downed, dead. So these are animals destined for the slaughterhouse, and they're not deemed fit for human consumption, although until recently downed animals were. And so the meat goes is fed to these dogs, essentially. This can cause problems for the dogs later on. And how many of us have had to deal with gastrointestinal issues with our dogs? Some of us. So, you know, having been fed a poor diet, that can, and the teeth, that's the other thing. Usually their teeth are just atrocious when they come off the track. So it's almost always necessary for them to get a dental before they go into homes. So we have to clean their teeth. That's another very, very common problem.